I am Pallavi and I lead HR for a manufacturing organization. And to start with the topic, I will just give you a little brief. It's about upskilling to stay relevant and supporting career transition. Staying relevant in market and with new changes every day.
Where do I see this transitioning? Where do I see this moving? Okay, because what you may learn today may be relevant for a very, very short time. But no skill is lost just because it's directly not relevant. To take your example, Pallavi, even if you get an answer from Copilot or some of the AI tools, you still have to use your discernment. Is it relevant to my context? Is it relevant to the kind of company we are? We are a startup. We only have 17 people or we have only 35 people. Is this thing relevant to us? Is this relevant to the industry we are in? So all of that discernment is going to be of immense value and judgment, even though the skill may look like it is not of value, right?
It's not very easy for people to transition their career, and this is how and this is what our topic is all about today.
Thank you very much, Pallavi and Sindhu, for having me on this podcast, giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with a wider audience on a very important aspect that's in everybody's mind actually these days, upskilling and jobs. So thank you for that opportunity. To give my background, I am a BITS Pilani graduate when it was just BITS Pilani Pilani. And I have done my master's from the US. Computer science was my field. And when I joined computer science, I didn't know what was computer science. That's how long ago it was. Like, I couldn't explain to my dad what was computer science when he asked me. So it's been quite a journey. I worked in the US for some years and then came back to India. In India, I was part of almost the starting team of Microsoft's R&D center in Hyderabad. I moved from being a core engineer and software developer to a program manager at Microsoft India. And then I moved to Amazon, where I became a product manager. Amazon also, I was part of the starting team, actually, absolutely starting team of the R&D center here. My last full-time job was with Samsung. I had moved into learning and development by then. I was the head of learning and development at SRIB here in Bangalore. Since 2018, I'm a freelancer. I have been doing facilitations and trainings in software architecture, product management, and leadership areas, leadership communication, strategy, um, negotiation and conflict management, managerial skills. That's my portfolio now. I am a certified coach with ICF. I'm a PCC level coach. So I do both executive leadership coaching as well as transformation and career transition coaching. That's my background and it's lovely. So since my background is in software and IT, I'll first give an example from there or in general in the software industry. There is this term we use, half-life of a skill. Okay, just like you have half-life of a uranium or which is used. So half-life of a skill earlier used to be 5, 6, 10 years. You can learn SQL and you'll be relevant in SQL for 10 years. Okay, now the half-life of skills is shrinking significantly. What you learned 5 years ago will today be done by a machine in microseconds or seconds, right? So the skill that you built is kind of, oh my God, is it relevant today? That's the, so half life is shrinking. It's shrinking so significantly that what you learn today may, some automated tool might do it in 18 months, in 2 years. So for software and IT professionals and people who are in a lot of data, people who are in even hardware and some of those areas, they have to continue to think what is futuristic? Where do I see this transitioning? Where do I see this moving? Okay, because what you may learn today may be relevant for a very, very short time. But no skill is lost just because it's directly not relevant. To take your example, Pallavi, even if you get an answer from Copilot or some of the AI tools, you still have to use your discernment. Is it relevant to my context? Is it relevant to the kind of company we are? We are a startup. We only have 17 people or we have only 35 people. Is this thing relevant to us? Is this relevant to the industry we are in? So all of that discernment is going to be of immense value and judgment, even though the skill may look like it is not of value, right?
Yeah.
And this is
True.
going to happen in other industries too. Some of the other big industries which are going to see disruption, healthcare will see a huge disruption, hospitality will see a huge disruptions, because a lot of things are being automated. We went to the airport the other day with my son, and all of the check-in counters were empty. All of that space is empty because the check-ins are all online.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, right. So not only online, you have self baggage also. So there is going to be transformation in many, many industries, and you have to see where is it that you add value with judgment. Your judgment and decision making will have more value than the effort and time you are giving to a job.
Okay. For answering
Perfect.
that. So coming to the next question, Ruchi, you remember back to 5 years, 6 years back when I used to go for an interview, or as an HR, I used to interview people. We used to ask them, what do you aspire in 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, and there was an answer that I looked for a better position, maybe a HR leadership course or an IT project management, or somebody will say that I would see myself as a people manager, sort of that thing. Today when you ask somebody, what how do I do development plan, I do coach people. So even I development plan when I design for people for succession planning also. When I ask them, how do you see yourself 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, sometimes really, some people are very comfortable. They'll say, ma'am, I don't know, with this fast changing world, where will we land into? So, how do you see this? Is this, I mean, 5 years down the line, how we will be progressing in, and how, I mean, of course, you have answered it, learning or skill set or getting a skill set is always a relevant thing. But still, it's always a fear or insecurity. There are people, we are not doctors, every time we can't learn, and they learn every day. So sometimes, you will say, it's enough, I mean, I'm okay, I'm done. So how do you see people 5 years down the line? There will be another scenario, or what will the most relevant thing, or upskilled, or how relevant it will be to be in the market? How
So
can
let
one
us
be
look at
relevant?
this. Look at this development plan example that you give, right? I'm a coach. I work with people through corporate or through one-on-one, and I work with them on their development plan. And I have also heard this line. I don't know which way to go. There are so many options, and there is another approach. Whatever I choose may not be even relevant after by the time I choose it, right? Both of these
Exactly.
challenges people feel. Sometimes the choice is too much, and sometimes even if I choose, I don't know if it's going to be meaningful in, right? And both are valid, actually. One of the important things that you said, we are not doctors. We probably at some point want to stop this learning journey. So I think that mindset is something I want to touch upon right now. See, we are all taught that once we are adults, at some point, we have to take insurance for our health. When we buy a car, we have a car insurance. When we buy a house, we have a house insurance. Why do we do the insurance? That if case of some disaster, there is some backing we have done to protect ourselves. Upskilling is like insurance for your career. You have to continue to invest in it for the rest of your life. That is one big shift in mindset that we need to have. This whole concept of continuous learning that is there in medicine actually should be there and is there in every field now. Even in hospitality, every 2 years or so they will teach something new to the people who are managing, the receptionists who are managing the desks of hotels and restaurants, and because something changes, and you need either some new tool comes in, or some new way of doing accounting comes in, or some new way of taking feedback from the customer comes in. So my point is, we have to live with this fact that upskilling is no longer an optional part of your journey.
I
It is
agree.
like an insurance that you have to keep investing.
Perfect.
Every year you should be sitting and asking yourself, what new stuff do I want to learn?
True. True. True.
And now
Good.
going, I'll take one more minute. Now going to the second part, the confusion that people feel about visualizing themselves 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Instead of seeing us, of course, one thing is try to understand the types of role that will emerge. For that, you will need to do some reading. So if you're in software, cybersecurity is becoming important, blockchain is becoming important. There are certain verticals which are becoming important. Either you can look at that, or large system design is becoming important, right? Certain specific domains. So you may want to specialize in that. If you're looking in non-software, and if you're looking for the other areas which are going to get disrupted in healthcare, healthcare risk management is going to change in many ways. Healthcare analytics is a very, very big area, going to be huge amount of data to make the experience of the hospitals, better clinic hospitals, and also huge amount of data for making judgments and decisions on the customers also, patients also. So as doctors and as nurses and as people who administrators, there will always be a space where you should see what is coming up and pick up something. Talk to somebody who has done that journey and how have they experienced it. Talk to somebody who's a few years senior from you, whom you look up. Mentoring is going to be very important, because you will not be able to make, there is so many options, you will not be able to make quick judgments. So it's good to have a mentor, good to have a coach with whom you can brainstorm ideas, talk to a few laterals and peers, but look for something to grow in every 18 months or every year.
Perfect. Good. Good going. Okay. I am not sure, but maybe we can have a very broader picture here on this question. So, what do you think is a non-negotiable thing in terms of upskilling for future? Maybe we can have a broad answer to it. Of course, we can't be very specific to roles and profiles, but of course upskilling itself is non-negotiable, but one thing which is you think is non-negotiable for everybody.
So, you'll be seeing many articles on this and many podcasts. A lot of specialists and master trainers, etc., and are talking about it. And people who are very, very, very strong in their fields are talking about it. What is it that artificial intelligence cannot do, as we see it today? Um, Anything that is very repetitive, anything that is very repetitive and has a very fixed pattern of doing, can get automated and eventually will get automated. Now, this eventually might be very long. For the West, it will come earlier. For our country, we may not have that many resources and that much money to be able to do it in the next 2, 3 years, but it will happen in 5, 10 years or whatever. And that gap between West and our country will remain. But the fact is, anything that is very repetitive can get automated. Things which need judgment, things which need decision making, things which need empathy and understanding the context, the human angle, they will take much longer, because that is not still something which is completely programmable. So
True.
non-negotiables, in my opinion, are two or three things. If you're starting your journey, non-negotiables are critical thinking, problem solving. Given any new problem, how do you approach it? Are you able to break it? Are you able to figure out these are the five parts, these three I can get AI help to find answers, and these two I have to do customer survey? Are you able to do problem solving and critical thinking? So if you're starting your journey, if you're 5 to 7 years or 8 years are you able to have what is called systems thinking? Systems thinking earlier used to be something which was for senior management, mid managers, not seeing just parts, but seeing the whole. How does this impact? Oh, we are going to make this change. I'm taking an HR example. Oh, we are going to make this change in policy of, people have to be in office for 9 hours. We were work from home. Now we are going to. What will be the implication of this on the morale of people? What will be the implication of this on the customer engagement? What will be the impact of this on the mental health of the people, because they have to drive 1.5 hours sometimes? So you have to start seeing beyond the immediate decision making, the various aspects, connections that are impacted, and how things cascade. That is called systems thinking. It is a discipline. It's a discipline which is being recommended for all middle managers, all senior people, as one of the core skills that will be needed in the world that is emerging. Okay. Now, if you are middle level and higher, where strategy used to be the important thing, where leading people used to be the important thing. Over there also systems thinking is going to be very, very important. But beyond systems thinking, empathy. Do you get the human angle? Are you able to connect with people? Are you able to sense the audience? Now, people think, this used to be important even earlier. What has changed? What has changed is people are no longer face to face with you. You have to gauge your customer in an electronic environment. You have to gauge your customers' priorities without them face to face with you, where you can gauge a lot more things with them. So, there is a skill you have to develop of empathy, engagement, interpersonal, human understanding, because large impact of leadership is there. Strategy, importance of strategy won't change, but with strategy you will have tools to guide you, especially historical data, forecasting, all of that will come with strategy. So this is how I break it. If you're entering, it's critical thinking, problem solving. If you're middle level, systems thinking, and also interpersonal communication, because a lot of it is getting lost with Gen Z doesn't talk too much sometimes. They
They
want to
talk to
reply
machines.
within, pardon, they want to just chat.
They, yeah, they talk to machines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have to develop a skill to connect with them. We don't have to judge them. They are a different, they have been born in a different era. They are AI native. So let us engage with them in a way where we are able to understand them. And for senior leadership, using the right tools for strategy and larger empathy. And I'm going to add the last thing here, the ability to withstand uncertainty and ambiguity. If you get very stressed and you're not able to understand that things will always keep changing, and it's okay. The tolerance of ambiguity and uncertainty has to be there at all levels. And it is a skill. If you go and look at top 10 skills, it is one of the skills for which you can train your brain.
Perfect. I think you're very clearly, and it's a very great learning also to understand from such a experience and such an expertise there. So good. I think we had a very good understanding on what is non-negotiable, and of course, human touch is always, we should always count on. Whatever comes in machine learning, disruption, but human touch will always stay, because as humans, we need emotions and we need empathy to grow in. EQ, emotional quotient, is always something which will be required. And these days social quotient is also very in a limelight. Yeah, people want to engage that way. So yeah, of course, I totally get that, and I am with you on this. There was a time when, one person gets into one job and retires from the same job. Okay. Then there came an era, the person has to get into one job, and 10, 15 years, he looks for another opportunity and he moves out. Or no, maybe. Okay. They were 50-50% chances. Then there came an era that your stability as an HR, when I used to look at the resume, it was 5 years. Okay. 5 years, if you're an organization, you have your gratuity thing sorted, you're good. Okay. Now there is an era, even for 1 year to 3 years, you have been very stable. I mean, if you change your job in, say, 1 year's time or 1.5 years' time, and you have versatile experience, cross industry experience, you are more relevant. Why? Because you know this better. Okay, you have cracked another interview, so you have that smartness to crack the interview. With this, people having different industry experience, people sometimes have start getting into a career transition mode also. With you, I understand it was a step by step, but there I see in my organization also, another organization also, somebody who's a mechanical engineer was doing was working in service and other, maybe some commercial function, today is heading a wider strategic role. Okay. So service is already, it's you are doing with machines and working on machines, it's a hardcore job. And another job is strategy, and this transition is not a very wider transition. It is, let's say, 6, 7, 8 years down the line, you have grown to that level. But On another scale, I see people who are very very insecure and very and feel that career transition can be a challenging thing. Okay, what role upskilling, of course upskilling plays a very wider role or a broader role in this, but how do you think that people should take it as, and how do people land into that is my ask from you. uh, for example, if X person has to step up and get another role, not only up and get another role, so it's both movement, upward movement, horizontal movement. How do you know people should start preparing of it, or either should they be insecure about it, or they should give it a chance? What's your view in this?
So let's break this into three parts. I'll try to give you three separate pieces here. The first one is about the insecurity and the overwhelm. Partly because of all the news that's coming and the layoffs newses are coming, especially in IT and software. So, first of all, normalize this. This is going to be a trend. This is going to be a way where industry, especially software and related technology industry, it is trying to make money for to invest in AI, and is also noticing that once certain things become automated, you don't need as many humans in parallel, right? So there will be a trade off, and we have to normalize this. I know it is anxious. I'm part of this journey, and people will have to learn to live with this anxiety. Now, I'm not saying live with it, I'm saying learn to manage it, learn to foresee it. Okay, learn to prepare for it. Is my role becoming too repetitive? Is there a potential it might be consumed? In which case, I should be upskilling. You don't have to wait for that decision to happen before you do the upskilling. So, that is one aspect, but this is the reality. There will be different types of jobs. It's not like there won't be jobs, there will be different types of jobs. Now, talking about the second part that you're saying, and let's take that as a short, which your point was, how do we start? Many people keep thinking, how do we start? When do we start? And I will take the line that do not wait for you to be told. Every 6 months, review yourself. What additional stuff, if I do in my role, I will add value. Don't upskill because a new course has come. Figure out, I'm doing data analytics for HR. I'm just giving you an example, right? All right, maybe I need to learn this new particular way of doing long term predictions on salaries. So now figure out what do you want to do and then look for courses. What happens with many people is, ma'am, everybody is doing this course, I will also do it. Oh, my manager says do this course, so I will. Upskilling is useful. How are you going to use it? Figure that out. So, these two things I would like to highlight. And the third part is the mental health management part of it. There is going to be anxiety, there is going to be overwhelm, there is a huge transformation and transition happening in the industry. Industries are getting disrupted. So, make sure you have support systems, you have friends, you're working with a coach or a mentor who can guide you. That's also going to be important.
Perfect. I think very well answered. It's again, I think we come to the EQ part or mental health part. See, it's one thing which is very constant with, and I always go about it, is mental health. So I think we were talking about mental health back then, and we are talking about mental health today. So I think the most ironic, or I'll say constant thing, consistent thing, is mental health, and which actually is important. You don't burn out while you plan for an upskilling. So I think that's a good part of what we are discussing today. So, when it comes to future of work, okay, when we talk about future of work, maybe we will have a couple of sections after this, but I think we talked about past ki 5 years pehle aisa hota tha, now today we've transitioned, we have come into this, now how it will be. Let's talk more on the future of work. How can AI look tools like Copilot accelerate learning? maybe AI is now. So let's see the future of it. How can it accelerate learning? Chat GPT accelerate learning. Taking from a very personal example, these days, there's a lot of meme going in that mothers, new mothers, they rely on chat GPT at times to understand, how can I help my baby. So though it is on a very lighter side, but on a learning front, how can an AI tool like Copilot accelerate learning for futures, and how will career stability look like in the future for continuous learning or job security, maybe?
AI tools are there for you just like any other tools that came our way. There was a time when Excel was not there, right? Can you imagine HR department without Excel?
No.
So and it has made you more efficient, it has made you more productive, it has its own quirks also, and every year there are new features also. So it's like that, tools are like that. In terms of AI tools, I use the word, I say this to anywhere where I go for seminars or I talk to my coaches. I say, who is your assistant these days? Treat them like assistants who are there with you, and it's okay to leverage them. Even for this podcast, I've sat and chatted with my assistants to understand the landscape, to get some statistics and data, right? I have my own opinion and mindset, but I would like to understand the world. So use your assistants. If you're not using your assistants, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Copilot, and the list is very long depending on what you're looking for, right? If you're not using your assistants, you are not leveraging. It's almost like you have a knife, but I want to cut with my hand. It doesn't work. What's the point? You have a knife. But remember that AI tools can give you faster answers, can give you productivity, but they don't give you depth. You almost feel like you solve the problem very quickly and feel very good about yourself, but you don't build skills unless you introspect on that, unless you question it deeper, unless you use your judgment on top of it. So don't start becoming dependent on your assistants to the level that they become masters. Then you're not growing. Then very soon your manager will realize, I need only the tools. I don't need this person in between.
It's more robotic.
Yes. And please use it for your learning. We know that micro learnings are important, small buzz. People can do that micro learning very well with tools these days, you know. They can even, a simple thing. I have a coachee whose English language skills are weak and it's holding her back on her promotion. Everything else looks excellent on her, career path. She's 2 years, 2.5, 3 years into the career. She sits with an assistant, asks them to give certain questions, writes the answers, summarizes it, asks it to correct its grammar. I'm saying you can find assistant for almost anything these days. But use it as an assistant. Don't assume you don't have to work. Don't stop. Don't numb your brain. Then it will become a master and you will become irrelevant.
True. I understand. I'm with you on this. I think what people have started doing, knowing that there's an AI in place, they do a prompt, they send a prompt, and whatever answer they get, they just do a copy paste. For example, any email or any Word document, or for that
Yes.
matter, now we make payroll with Excel, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes I also have to calculate. Oh, let's calculate quickly what is the gratuity portion coming in, or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
We'll do a quick evaluation, and then we will not think, with new wage code coming in, what can be the implication, or
Exactly.
how it will affect. So maybe that skill set is always important. It is at the end of the day, it is machine. Whatever you will tell that machine, that machine will give you an answer. But with human judgment, I think it will become more relevant, and that's how skill set will always stay relevant. That is what I understand. So what are the challenges people may face while upskilling? Yeah.
Three challenges that I see. First one is people wait to be told what to upskill in. Otherwise, they are very busy doing their whatever they're doing every day. Right now, you have to be proactive about it. Every quarter, learn something. Every 6 months, learn something. Second thing is motivation dies. You are very excited when you start some course or some, something, and then after 3 weeks, it's lying 60% complete, 30% complete. So discipline, there is no substitute for discipline. So try to do it with another partner, try to do it with another friend, try to discuss it with somebody online so that your motivation and interest continues. That's the second challenge. And the third challenge of upskilling is that people finish a course and then they're like, what do I do with it? So always upskill with some project or something which you're doing on the side. Talk to your manager and say, I'm learning this thing. I want to now apply it as a small mini project here. When you try to do that at job, and it's called the on the job learning, right? Then you see the practical aspect of it. You see the value of it. Otherwise, theory can only take you so far. So these are the three challenges of upskilling, in my opinion.
Just move to our last part of last section of our conversation, which will be a little on the reflection and a closing remarks. What is that one piece of advice for someone feeling stuck in their career?
Look around, talk to somebody who can be a mentor, look for opportunities, sit with your assistant, figure out what are the potentials. Don't wait for somebody to tell you that you have to grow. Exploration
Okay.
has to happen proactively.
From your end only.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, from your end only, with
I
support
think
of a
that
mentor.
hmm that is one advice I think coaches also give you very often. You look for yourself, and the coaching starts with that only. So I think
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
What skill set? Another question, Ruchi. What skill are you currently learning or planning to learn? Just a question from on the personal front.
Yes, absolutely. So right now my focus is AI. And I am trying to see what are the different tools that are there which I can leverage. I also teach software architecture. So how do I adapt my case studies for AI? My focus, even though I'm in coaching, my focus right now is AI with coaching, AI with product management, AI with software architecture.
Wow,
That is what I'm spending my time on.
wow, wow. That's very, very nice. Last question, and then maybe we can close. What is the first step listeners can take to start their upskilling journey today?
um, Talk to somebody who you trust as a mentor in terms of having wider perspective on life than you, and talk about the possibilities. What is making you feel unstuck? Are you bored? Do you feel like you have capped out in your value in this job? And do you feel like I'm doing the same thing I was doing 18 months ago and nothing new is there? So reflection and talking to somebody to understand the possibilities is the first step that one should take. If you're already doing a course and are not motivated enough to upskill and lose the time, then please find an accountability partner or find another person who's doing a similar journey. Have a conversation, build a project around it. So, these are the two things I would tell people to try and do after listening to this podcast as a first step towards upskilling.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any final remarks or over to you?
I think two things which one is that, as I said, it's like a career insurance. You have to, just like you have goals in office about your delivery, you need to have growth goals either quarterly or 6 monthly, and they shouldn't always come from your manager. You have to be able to understand working with your manager and partner. So that's one thing I want to wrap up with. The other thing is, many times, HR also, and we always say soft skills. There are functional skills, technical skills, and then there are soft skills. Soft skills are hard skills. They are very hard and they will live even in AI times. Understanding human angles, empathy, understanding customers, interaction, persuasion abilities, negotiation, all of this will be relevant. People should not just be looking to add on another language or technology or functional skill. They should be looking at what soft skills, as we call them, they should be growing in. That's the second part I will highlight. And the third thing is, change is the only constant, and don't treat upskilling as an option. It is actually mandatory now. And periodically, you have to invest in this time, energy, focus.
Perfect. Good going. I think Ruchi very well said. It was nice, overwhelming, and of course, we are very obliged to have you here. A lot of good insights, good learnings, and I think my audience will also have a very good learning in that terms. And we chose a very relevant topic also. Thank you for being with us. Um, Back then, when you say that, I was not able to explain my dad what this this academic this is all about. And today, when people are students, and your children are very clear what they want to do, and they have full knowledge, full study about it. How do you see this? Do you see this, that there is a gap, that we were not having those resources which today children have? And then, is that something which helps them to upskill and stay relevant? That is my first question to you.
So, actually, yeah, there's a big difference. We did have our information used to be finding information used to be a task and effort in our times, right? Um, Libraries, newspaper, and then yeah, internet was very limited. I mean, the internet actually started after I came into industry, right? So yes, it was hard to have information, but the fact was that because the sources were few, you got certain piece of information and then you talked to a few people and then you made your decisions. Now I think one of the challenges of our emerging, as we call them, Gen Y, or the millennials even, one of the challenges they have is that they have an overwhelming amount of information, and they have very diverse source of information, and a lot of those information could be opinions. They may not be even factual. It might be the opinion of a small few people, and sometimes it could be factual. So having the discretion of differentiating between what is opinion, what is real, what is fake, actually it's a lot of burden on their brain, to be very frank. So having too many choices, they have the challenge of abundance.
But we were, I think, your times they were little, okay, this is what we're gonna do, and there's no if and but. Your dad will ask your neighbor, oh, this is a good thing, or this is a bad thing, or somebody who's qualified, there's academic career around it, and then you will go about it. Say, okay, okay,
Yes.
my child wants this, so we will get that going. And education and academics were, I mean, it's very heavy on pockets also these days. That time it was heavy, but everybody was passionate to get, because there was very limited choices. Perfect. I think it's a mix of, you make a mix of academics, and you started with what you were passionate about, and then you moved into L&D. It's another level journey. And it's what in your so there's a lot of definitions, everything has changed. Google, Wikipedia, now we have got to Chat GPT, Copilot, n number of AI coming in. Upskilling from an L&D purpose, LNDP person. I want to understand what upskilling means to you personally.
So I think upskilling, I mean, we will go partly with the formal definition, partly with how I take it in it. But upskilling means trying to be relevant in your own field by adding certain specific skills or certain specific, related skills. It is kind of different from what we use the word reskilling, which is like almost going into a different field. Like I became from an engineer to program management, to program manager to product manager to I became a competency specialist in the CTO office, and then I went into becoming the head of learning and development. And from there, I've gotten into consulting and coaching. Some people will say this is complete reskilling, right? You've kind of, oh my God, this doesn't make sense. It's all unrelated. But the fact is, each step was an upskilling in some way. I was a technologist. I added project management, program management to it and became a technical program manager. Then I added product sense to it and I became a product. So a little delta is kind of upskilling, but eventually the journey looks like it's a complete reskill. But upskilling is about making yourself relevant to either to the context that you are in or a context that you are envisioning the industry to be in by adding some new skills.
Okay, perfect, Ruchi. So back then, I'll just remember as an HR professionalist, I will give my example. So back then, like 5, 6 years ago, and I was also at a very mid level. I would have an assistant manager or manager level profile, and there was a course for HR analytics which came into picture. I'm not sure if you are aware of it or not because you have a
Yes,
different
I
set
am.
of this thing, but so HR analytics, and back then I was just going round and round that I have to do this course and this will give me another level of certification, job, or whatever. Today, at 2026 on 2026, when I look at HR analytics course, even I think if I put certain data in Copilot, in AI, in ChatGPT, I get my data within fraction of second, and then the analysis is done. So this is such a huge shift in 5 years. Such a huge shift in 5 years. So upskilling, of course, is as you mentioned, step by step upskilling. How do